Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today I'm going to tell you how I got scammed while we unbox the Space Marine, the board game. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. So it's not clickbait. I did fall for a scam. It's probably the oldest scam in the book, so I guess realistically I'm probably the one to blame. So I thought while I tell you guys exactly what happened, we would unbox the game that I bought, and I could explain to you exactly how I got scammed. Hopefully you won't make the same mistake. The truth is, I should have known better. I've bought plenty of things on the internet before. I can usually spot some red flags in advance, and in this case, I guess I just kind of looked past them, didn't even think twice about it, or just felt like I was covered either way, so it wasn't a big deal. In hindsight, it definitely worked out to be a pain in the butt, and I definitely did get scammed, but I didn't really lose for it in the end. But there's just one easy thing you can do to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. And I'm not breaking ground here or anything. I'm basically telling you what you already know. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So here is my copy of Space Marine. It came in the mail the other day. I purchased it through eBay. It was in the listing called new. So I figured what could possibly go wrong. And the first thing, as soon as I got the box and then opened it up, I was absolutely amazed just how heavy the box was. Like surprised, because I didn't really expect a ton of stuff inside here, so I didn't really expect it to be that heavy. And then I immediately noticed that the box was like a little bit worn around the corners, and there appeared to be like some tape across the front of it. So then it didn't take long. I immediately flipped it over and saw there was a big yellow sticker on here, and when I had a closer look, it said something to the effect of place on CRC pallet in reverse logistics, and then it says CRC real big, and then it says carton contains defective items. So naturally, I realized, okay, this is not a new product. It was probably damaged in shipping, or potentially could be some kind of like open box scenario. But immediately contacted the seller, let them know that the product was not new as described, and essentially tried to get a refund. In the meantime, my curiosity got the best of me, and I decided I would go ahead and open it, check it out, because I really wasn't that concerned about the box. It definitely shouldn't have been listed as new, especially with this sticker here. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I imagine it was probably some kind of return or damaged on pallet, and then it was just being resold by a liquidator. And the truth is, that's exactly what turned out to be the case. So when I popped this thing open, I cut the little bit of tape off there and opened it up, and immediately realized why it's so heavy, because the actual game does come with one of these nice like kill team size boards right here. And these ones are pretty cool because they actually fold up to half the size of the normal kill team boards. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and show you. And actually, we can take a look at this board together because I haven't looked at it yet. Okay, so here is the board all unfolded and everything. I just want to double check and make sure that it was actually the size of the kill team boards, which it 100% is. It is the 22 by 30 inch board. And again, the really cool thing about these boards is the normal ones only fold up to like twice the size of this one, or this one folds up to half the size of the other ones. So it's really cool because it doesn't take up that much space. It is the solid, like thick cardboard, not the little cheapo boards as well. So very cool. And also worth note with that board is this is a completely new board. We've never seen this board before. So just moving on here, and you guys are about to get the shocker that I got when I opened this up. And just remember, if you don't want to get scammed in the future, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. So next we have the handbook here with all the rules and everything. But this is the next surprise that I got. So obviously we can see at this point in time, not only was this product actually like opened by someone, but they began assembling it. And then when you really look at it and everything, this is not some newbie assembler. This is a veteran of the hobby right here. Because once they cut out all of the pieces that they built, they trim down the sprues like this. And this is the type of thing that I do. And I didn't used to do it. For a long time, I would cut all the bits off the sprues and just store them in bags. Sometimes I would just keep all of the bits on the sprues and leave them how they were. It wasn't until I evolved into the game after years and years that I started doing something like this. So I immediately got the impression that somebody bought this set, checked it out, and then decided they didn't want it again. And immediately was like, okay, let me just check and make sure all the components are here. Obviously, this is assembled. It's not what I bought. I'm going to have to get a refund on this and be done with it. Well, it didn't take long to realize that the actual tightest model, the whole purpose of buying this set, the unique Space Marine from the game, Space Marine, is not here. There's a bunch of half-built termagants. It does appear that all of those are here. There's 20 of them, 2 little ripper swarms. We've got like some extra bits here. There's some random like heads in here as well. So I'm assuming all the rest of the pieces are here. I didn't go through and check exactly. All I noticed after that point was Titus was gone. So if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I tried to save a couple dollars on this game. I could have just bought it at retail. It was like 40 something dollars plus tax. When it was all said and done, it would have been like 45 bucks. I think I was going to save like $3 to $5, something like that. It wasn't crazy, and somehow ended up with this mess. Now, when it's all said and done, the whole entire purpose, the reason I bought this game is, one, I thought it would be kind of neat and everything, but realistically, it's for the Space Marine character, which I didn't even end up getting. So again, when you're looking at something on the internet and it's marked as new and the price just seems a little bit better than it should be, always be wary so you don't fall for some kind of scam like this. So there is a happy ending to this story. I did contact eBay. I did hear back from the company that I bought this from. I don't necessarily think it was like malicious intent or anything like that. I'm not sure if that was like their sticker they put on there or if they just get pallet loads of this stuff and then sell it and just hope it doesn't get returned. But the profit margin compared to what they pay for it is so high. Who cares if somebody complains about it? Because they didn't even ask for me to return it or anything like that. They did send me a full refund. So I got my money back and now I have 20 termagants, the board, the majority of the game but the Space Marine character, which is cool and everything, but honestly, I have plenty of termagants already from Leviathan. I still don't have the Space Marine character, so I'm probably going to have to buy the game again. It was a little bit of a headache, but here we are making a video about it, and maybe I can warn you guys from falling for something like this. And in my case, it wasn't really that big a deal because it was like a $40 or $50 product. So please be careful out there. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. So what's my actual take on this whole situation and then Space Marine? So I think it's a pretty good product. I don't get to see the actual Space Marine because, well, he wasn't in here, but I'm assuming he's cool. The termagants are really nice models. You got 20 of them plus your 2 ripper swarms. Somebody built most of them for me, so that saves me a little bit of legwork. Just trying to make the best of things. The board is pretty nice. It's pretty cool. There's a couple dice in here as well. Nothing fancy, just like your generic random white dice. And then here are just some markers. So this is like a cardboard kind of like placeholder in there. And then it looks like you can punch these out. Oh, maybe you have to cut these out with scissors. Yeah, there's a little scissor on there. So they're not actually like a punch out thing. But you have like some wound markers, some objectives, and then of course just a little ruler as well. So that's a little 12-inch measuring device there. And then of course we have the actual book, which I didn't really look at, but it sets up the game. I can't imagine there's like a ton to the game. The book did seem pretty cool. It's got your instructions in here. It's got a couple different game modes. It explains how to play, how to set up your map, all that good stuff. Probably a pretty decent initial like foray into Warhammer. I think getting a box with like 20 something models in it is right at that point where it's not overwhelming because so many are the same, but you can kind of practice on your like 20 something termagants and then make sure when you put together your Space Marine, it's perfect. All this stuff is push fit, and these do appear to be the same termagants from the actual like Leviathan set. I don't know though, because I didn't compare like the pieces of sprues I have left to the real sprues, but I'm assuming these are like just 2 of the termagant squads with the little rippers. And then I'm assuming the Space Marine is his own like separate sprue. So for me, I think my final takeaway is essentially what I already said. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. In this case, it didn't work out too bad. I got my money back. I was covered the whole way by like eBay's policies and whatnot. So there's definitely a little extra trust you can kind of put in a situation if you know they're going to make it right over time. I never heard back from the seller, but I did get a full refund. One thing I like about using something like eBay or Amazon is they have a lot of like things in place. If something does go wrong, you can basically immediately report the issue and they're pretty good to correct it. It would have been a pain in the butt if I had to like repackage this up and send it back to get my refund. But in this case, they didn't even ask for this back or anything. They just give me the cash, which was pretty cool. So what's the final result? I think the Space Marine game is a pretty cool game, and I think it's definitely worth 40 bucks. 20 termagants and the cool Space Marine model, the nice game board in here, kill team size. And then that's pretty much all you're going to have that you can use other than the actual Space Marine game if that's what you're going to play. But I do think this is a good start into like a Warhammer type game. So cool product, definitely a bad experience, but turned out okay when it was all said and done. This was basically free for me, and now I get to make a video about how I fell for the oldest scam in the book. But it is a cool opportunity to kind of talk about Space Marine the game, unbox it, take a look, answer some of the questions that I had and maybe other people had as well. And then of course to kind of warn people about the most common scam. The most common scam is obviously just if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I was really only trying to save like $5 or something like that buying this, but I knew there was very little risk of something going wrong or things not being made right if they did go wrong. Obviously, the way the situation turned out, things did go wrong, but they were made right. So I was right with my initial intentions, but just be careful out there. This was a low dollar item, and I definitely got scammed here one way or the other. Somebody bought this. Somebody kept the coolest model in the set. They built it. They returned it, got their money back. So they basically scammed the store that they bought this from. And then that store probably sold it to a liquidator, or definitely sold it to a liquidator as a return or defective item. And then the liquidator just turned around and went ahead and just taped it shut and sold it. If they would have opened it up and seen that the stuff was already built, there was stuff missing. I don't know if a normal person would even be able to tell, but it was very clear that this was in an unsellable condition, and yet they sold it nonetheless. So it took a couple of people doing a couple of shady things and then me trying to get a deal to end up in this situation. But most of you guys have pretty good common sense. I'm sure something like this has happened to most people where they fell for something that was a little too good to be true, and then in hindsight, it seemed obvious. So let me know down in the comments if you had a situation like this happen to you. Always like to hear back from you guys. When it's all said and done, I'm not out anything, and I got a bunch of models and a little board and everything. So it's a pretty cool situation, but just be careful out there. Especially if you cut up with somebody in a group or something like that and they seem friendly or whatever, just watch out for scams, because as the hobby gets bigger and everything like that, as it grows, it's no doubt going to attract more people that are going to try to take advantage of it. So let me know if you have similar situation like this through like eBay or Amazon, or if you've gotten scammed over something that you knew was obvious at the time but still fell for it for whatever reason. But I definitely felt like a sucker. I didn't really want to talk about this at first because I was a little bit embarrassed that I fell for it, but I thought more than anything I should share with you guys, because if I can stop one other person for falling for something like this or from getting scammed on some other group or some other sales site, it was definitely worth it. So that's it for today. Very happy with the actual product, Space Marine the game. I'm going to have to pick it up again so that I can get a hold of our boy. I did get scammed. I fell for the oldest trick in the book. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. When it was all said and done, eBay covered me. The seller was real cool to just send me a refund without having to send back the product. Because in all reality, if everybody followed the rules and did what they were supposed to do, this probably would have just went in a landfill somewhere. And instead, I'm going to put these models to good use. So I'd say we got a happy ending for a scam, which doesn't usually happen. So special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And I'm out of here. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch, and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video.